The Steelers, they added Cordell Patterson, and everybody, I got comment, I got texts, I got people calling me, even my dad, not even a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, calls me and we're talking, and he's Cordell Patterson. I mean, that means Calvin Austin's gone, right? I'm saying no. I'm saying there's no chance Calvin Austin's gone. Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette said it yesterday, 2 days ago, that he thinks that Quez Watkins, Van Jefferson, or Calvin Austin, one of them gets cut this season. And I think that's 100% true, but I don't think Calvin Austin is on that list. I think it's Quez Watkins or Van Jefferson gets cut. And if I had to guess, I think Van Jefferson gets cut. I think that's the guy that, if you had to guess who's on their way out, I'm going to say it's probably Van Jefferson. This is why Calvin Austin's not going anywhere. Okay. Technically last year was his rookie season, as you want to say it. He's a guy that has the ability to return punts. He did a little bit of kick return, not a ton. I still picture to this day him in Atlanta running down the sideline with Mike Tomlin losing his damn mind because of how electric Calvin Austin looked on that punt return. I'm telling you, the Steelers love this guy when it comes to his return ability. And it's still young, and he's still got, more to come, and he's going to make mistakes. I get it. But technically, last year was the first time he ever stepped into an NFL game. Ever. Now, I'm not talking he didn't get a preseason. He barely got a training camp because he was so far down the depth chart that he's not working with these starters. You can't judge a fourth round. If he was a rookie last year and he was a fourth round pick, your expectations wouldn't be very high. You'd be looking at it and going, man, dude, this dude could almost kind of return punts. That's exciting. I look at Calvin Austin as the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least the next 2 years, year 3 and 4 on the rookie deal. Super, super crazy cheap. Super, super crazy cheap. I think that they love him. I mean, I've heard that they love him. I heard that they love what Calvin Austin brings to the field. Then there's the Arthur Smith effect. If we're talking about Justin Fields and Russell Wilson having 2 quarterback packages and the Pittsburgh Steelers doing all these crazy things, they're signing Cordell Patterson, which we went on a whole conversation yesterday about how Cordell Patterson probably is going to play running back and wide receiver and a little bit of everything for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're telling me Calvin Austin doesn't strike you as a Cordell Patterson? That they don't have, some of the same similarities? I get it. Calvin Austin would be a Dre Archer if he was in the backfield because that dude is 125 pounds soaking wet. But I don't look at Calvin Austin as a dude on his way out. I look at Calvin Austin as a guy that they're trying to turn into the next all-around football player. Najee Harris said it last year. He said it to me last year that they were utilizing Calvin Austin in so many different ways, that they had him in the backfield, they had him out in the slot, they had him going deep, everything. I think that's where he's headed. I think they want him to learn from a guy like Patterson. I think they want him to develop into a guy who could do the things Patterson does, and probably much less of a running back, but a lot more of a jet sweep, end around type of catch a screen and go 60 type of yards. That's what you want out of this guy. A better Quez Watkins. People got excited about Quez Watkins. He's a better Quez Watkins. I think that you could utilize him. And then he goes deep, man. Calvin Austin could go deep, and he's a little man that plays big. We've had Calvin on this podcast. I've talked to Calvin many, many times about his size and how he does not care. He will go up for a jump ball, and chances are he's coming down with it. I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it a lot of times, actually. And I think he's got a ton of potential. You look at Calvin Austin, is he on the same level as Van Jefferson and Quez Watkins?
I would say so, especially with like you mentioned, the big part of this is an offensive coordinator that might actually know how to use them, and his second year. So, you have that natural growth of knowing how the NFL works, knowing what the speed of the game is, adjusting to that speed of the game, and, match that with Arthur Smith and, a competent quarterback that's not going to overthrow him or underthrow him every single time. I think that he's definitely on the same playing field as a Quez Watkins or Van Jefferson. And I think there's 100% much more upside to Calvin Austin than either of the other two.
That's what I'm saying, is the upside is so high right now. Why are you getting rid of it? Why would you even consider getting rid of him? This is not Anthony Miller's coming, that's so exciting. This is a guy that you drafted 2 years ago that you still think can be everything that you once thought he could be. And then you want to talk about an Arthur Smith offense, and everybody talks about, they're going to this is going to be a running team. This is going to be a running football team. 100%. but you could not run it up the middle every single time and say, there it is, guys. This is going to work. It's going to work very well. No, you got to change it up. You got to get fancy. You got to be able to adjust and keep people on their toes and defenses on their toes. And that's where Calvin Austin comes into play, because Calvin Austin's that guy that you're going to use as a bit of a Swiss Army knife to just say, hey, look it, see how fast you could run to the outside and hopefully you could get out there. See how fast, you could take this jet sweep. It just, there's so many things that Calvin Austin could bring to a team if he's good enough. And he's still got a long way to go, but you're not going to give up on that potential for two dudes. One of them's about to be 30 years old. The other one's been in the league for 4 years. You already know where these two are going. And especially like Van Jefferson, the only way he makes this roster is if he's good on special teams. Like, let's be 100% honest. Anybody who's sitting around thinking Van Jefferson is going to be a contributing factor to the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, go look at the stat book, because that guy hasn't done anything in 2-3 years. And I wish him nothing but the best. But I think it's kind of wild to say that there are 3 options to get cut, and Calvin Austin's one of them. I think there's 2 options to get cut, and I think it's Quez Watkins and Van Jefferson.